under a month. I want to thank Leader Herring, Senator Locke, Speaker Scott, and President Pro Temp Lucas for joining me as we make the case for a more affordable Virginia. I also want to recognize Leader Servell and Chair Torian for their leadership, though they couldn't join us here this morning. Right now, we are in the middle of the holidays, and across the Commonwealth, we know families are having to make tough budget decisions, tougher than they're used to. According to a recent poll, Virginians plan to spend far less this holiday season. They're concerned about an uncertain job market. They're concerned about continued impacts of high prices on their budgets, and they don't know what the future will hold. That's the reality for far too many families all year long. And as I traveled across the Commonwealth for the past 2 years, I heard what keeps people of Virginia up at night. It didn't matter where I went, on the Eastern Shore, far southwest Virginia, or along the 95 corridor. I heard Virginia families share their worries about how they'll get ahead, how they'll keep the lights on, how they'll save for their children's education, and how they'll afford to buy a home, rent a home, or stay in their home. And last month, Virginians made it clear they want their leaders in Richmond to come together, to unite for Virginia's future, to lower costs for Virginia's families. And today, I'll say it again, as the next governor of Virginia, my overarching, unrelenting focus in 2026 will be making the Commonwealth more affordable for our fellow Virginians. I think everyone in this room can appreciate how lowering costs for everyone is essential to the success of our economy. It isn't just a family budget issue, it's an economic competitiveness issue. I've heard the common refrain from business leaders, including in Virginia Beach with the Hampton Roads Chamber last week, as well as with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce earlier this month. To make sure our talent, our workforce, can continue to call Virginia home and our economy can continue to grow, we need to set the foundation for a Virginia that we all can afford. And today I am proud to unveil the beginning, the first step of these efforts, our agenda to build a more affordable Virginia. It is clear that we cannot accept the status quo when it comes to the high cost of living. It is hurting the financial security of our economy, our communities, and our neighbors. And changing the status quo begins next month right here in Richmond with 15 proposals in key areas. Number one, starting in January, we will work to lower the cost of prescription drugs, insurance premiums, and visits to the doctor's office. I have always said no Virginian should have to choose between paying their health care or putting food on the table. Together, we will hold pharmacy benefit managers accountable for hiking up drug costs. We will make it easier for Virginians to see the provider they need without going into catastrophic medical debt. And we will begin responding to the reckless healthcare cuts and a lack of action to prevent cost increases that we have seen coming out of Washington over the past year. Number two, starting in January, we will begin work to reduce the cost of Virginians' utility bills. I recognize the complexity of our current challenges and threats posed by the future demands, but the answer is not to sit while our problems only get worse. That's why we will make expanded energy storage a top priority. We will improve energy efficiency across our Commonwealth, and we will improve power usage forecasts, deploy small solar systems, and make common sense reforms to prevent higher costs from being passed on to consumers. And number three, we will work to make it more affordable for Virginians to call the Commonwealth their home. Too many of our neighbors are being priced out, forced out, or shut out of housing. It doesn't matter if they're in Northern Virginia or Southside Virginia. Starting in January, we will give every locality the option to increase the supply of affordable housing in their community. We will protect the long-term availability of affordable housing, and we will cut the red tape and bureaucracy in order to make it easier for companies to build housing that first-time homebuyers and future workforce members can actually afford. Starting in January, we will begin delivering on these priorities and policies that the people of Virginia voted for back in November. Over the past month, I have been asked a number of times what my 15-point victory meant. Many of you in the room may have asked, what is our mandate? Our mandate is to get things done, not to grandstand, not to gloat, but to come together for a stronger, safer, and importantly, more affordable Virginia. Today, I know the House and Senate leaders are ready to act on this shared mandate. And from conversations I have had over the past few weeks, I also know there is room for significant bipartisanship on these priorities. Virginians should expect nothing less from those that they elect to serve them. But I'll be clear, lowering the cost of living is a major economic task. It is not easy, and it cannot be done with the flip of a single switch. So in the coming weeks, my team and I look forward to working with Democrats and Republicans alike to respond to the top issue facing the people of Virginia. And today's agenda is a starting point, which we will build on together in the upcoming legislative session. And with that, I thank you all for being here today, and I look forward to taking questions in just a few minutes. But now I would like to introduce Majority Leader Charnel Herring to share a few words.
Good morning, everybody. I want to start by thanking Governor-elect Spanberger for her leadership in this important part of our legislative agenda, making sure that Virginia remains the best place to live, work, and raise a family. We need common sense answers to real issues of affordability that face families here in the Commonwealth. Moving forward together, we can address the issues of today and prevent even larger issues of the future. It is imperative that we tackle the looming issues of the day, like lowering costs for health care, housing, and in energy. I'm glad to see Governor-elect Spanberger support increasing the affordability in these key areas, which will help all Virginians after some irresponsible vetoes by Governor Youngkin. I'm excited to see us work to lower prescription drug costs and to work to navigate access to health care and make it easier by addressing prior authorizations. I'm excited to see us work to make housing more affordable by empowering localities, making it easier to access funding to build and keep affordable housing, and address how evictions work across the Commonwealth. I'm excited to expand our use of solar and renewable energy, to find ways to use technology to reduce energy costs that Virginians are facing, and make sure that we have a strong energy supply and a grid that will continue to meet our growing demands. It's a brand new day in the Commonwealth. Together we can move forward to address the real needs of our constituents. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Majority Leader Herring. Now I have the pleasure of introducing a leader who knows a thing or two about making a difference in the lives of Virginians, Senate Democratic Caucus Chair, Mamie Locke.
Thank you and good morning, and thank you, Governor-elect Spanberger, for this opportunity to greet everyone this morning, and thank you to my House and Senate colleagues. Virginians deserve relief from rising costs. This holiday season, far too many Virginians are forced to choose between heat and housing, prescriptions and groceries. These economic pressures are not accidental. They are the consequence of failed federal policies and political brinksmanship. We cannot allow working families to bear the cost of inaction. We are leading with purpose, not politics. Today, we unveil the Affordable Virginia Agenda, a clear, actionable plan to lower costs for Virginia families. This builds upon the priorities shared by Senate Democrats, House Democrats, and our new executive team. Caucus, this marks the first step in a sustained push toward affordability. Our approach is principled, people-focused, and deeply rooted in the values that guide us. Voters made themselves clear in November. Across the Commonwealth, voters demanded action on affordability, from health care to housing to energy. Governor-elect Spanberger and Democrats up and down the ballot responded with vision and commitment. Our agenda reflects the promise and the urgency voters expect from those elected to serve. Our focus on healthcare, housing, and energy. In healthcare, we are committed to lowering prescription drug costs, expanding access to care, and preventing medical debt. In housing, we will tackle the housing crisis head on, increasing supply, driving affordability, and ensuring Virginians can afford to live where they work. In energy, we will advance energy independence and invest in clean technologies, not just for the environment, but to lower utility bills and create jobs. We invite our colleagues across the aisle to join us in service. Governor-elect Spanberger is ready to govern. So are we. We welcome our colleagues to work with us on this shared challenge because the cost of living impacts all Virginians, regardless of party. The time for posturing is over. The people are watching, and they are counting on us to deliver. Thank you.
Next up, fresh off a historic 13-seat victory, a champion for working families across our Commonwealth. Let me reestablish this microphone, which I just knocked. Fresh off his historic 13-seat victory.
You can say that again.
I knew you'd feel that way. A champion for working families across our Commonwealth, and the Speaker of the Virginia House of Delegates, my friend, and a champion for his constituents, Speaker Don Scott.
Good morning. Thank you, Governor-elect, and my colleagues, Senator Lucas, Senator Locke, Leader Herring. Virginians didn't elect the largest Democratic House majority in decades, flipping 13 seats, so we could admire the architecture. They sent us here to do a job. And this November and the November before it, voters were crystal clear about what that job is. They want us to lower cost. They were crystal clear. And what has Trump done to lower cost? The opposite. He said he would lower cost on day one. The voters know he lied. Instead, his tariff policies and economic chaos have done the exact opposite. Since he took office, prices are still rising. Trump's tariffs alone have cost families about $1,200 a year. Not our words. This is the economic reports. He has created a tax on every working Virginian family, $1,200 a year. Beef prices up around 15%. Google it. Coffee up more than 20%. Electricity up about 10%. Gas in some places up about 50% or more. And then there's Trump and Republicans' landmark legislation, the big, beautiful BS bill, which raised health care costs so billionaires can make another billion. They never get enough. Families are now facing higher deductibles and higher insurance premiums, with ACA plans projected to jump nearly 18% in some places and more than doubling in others. You don't hear Republicans bragging about that legislation anymore, and that tells you everything you need to know about how badly they messed up. So, thanks for nothing, Mr. Trump. We got it from here. He can focus on building ballrooms. We'll focus on lowering costs for working families. And today we stand united, House, Senate, a brand new shiny governor, behind the Affordable Virginia agenda. We're taking on the bills families feel every single month. We're working to lower those bills: health care, housing, energy. That means lowering prescription costs, protecting families from crushing medical debt. It means making housing more affordable, whether you're trying to buy your first home or stay in your home, or you're a new kid that just graduated and you're trying to figure out how can you stay in Virginia, the state that you love, and afford to stay here. That is our charge today, not the politics, not petty politics of yesterday. Now, I know the media. I know Dave Rest over here sharpening his pencils, getting ready to try to figure out exactly how we're going to get this done. We have a plan. Just hold your horses. Ride with us. We're going to get it done. This isn't complicated. It's about making Virginia the best place to live, the best place to work, the best place to raise a family and have fun while we're doing it, and making sure families can afford to be here the entire time. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Scott. And now, but certainly not least, one of the Commonwealth's most fearless fighters for Virginia families, Senator Louise Lucas. I am proud to stand with you today, and I look forward to working with you as we deliver for Virginia.
My goodness. Good morning, and I can tell you that I am so incredibly excited about 2026. It's going to be fun. When we did the budget this past year, I spoke on the floor of the Senate and told my colleagues, that the uncertainty in the economy was unusual because the federal government's actions were disabling the core government functions and impacting the lives of Virginians. I said then, and I reiterate now, that I want to provide Virginians with more certainty and stability. As the chair of the Finance and Appropriations Committee, I have worked to be both fiscally responsible and protect our citizens' tax dollars. We have done this while also ensuring that communities prosper and that we have been able to invest in our citizens to make the Commonwealth the best state to live in. As the year progressed, we saw additional turmoil through tariffs, which really are just tax increases. The magnitude of these cost increases have been felt the most by those who are struggling to afford groceries and housing. They are on our mind now, and were on our minds when we put together the current budget. And so we are excited about all of the changes that we will make in 2026, so stay tuned.
All right, now we are going to open it up to questions. Generally speaking, I will start, but defer over to my General Assembly colleagues for questions that might pertain more to General Assembly. I'm going to start over here. Michael.
A couple sessions ago, the governor threw out the idea of expanding sales tax to some services. Madam Chair was became quite the cheerleader for that. Didn't work out this time. There's a bill being drafted, as I understand it, to get transportation needs in Northern Virginia, transit across the state, metro system in Northern Virginia. And part of that would expand the sales tax from services, some services, and lower the actual sales tax rate from 2.3 to 2%. Is that something that we could support? Is that something that Madam Chair could support?
Well, I'll begin, and then I'll turn it over to the chairwoman if she'd like to comment. As an issue of principle, and the entire reason that we are here today is that we want to ensure that Virginians can afford to live, work, build families here in the Commonwealth. That also means that we need to invest in the infrastructure and the people that make our Commonwealth great. So as a general overarching principle, recognizing the need for continued transportation investments, I think there are conversations to be had without the fully finished, ready for primetime 2026 bill text. I won't necessarily dive into the specifics, but certainly recognizing the challenges our Commonwealth is facing and the need to ensure that we continue to be competitive. I think there are important conversations to be had, and certainly the bills put forward in prior General Assemblies, I think, were worthy of broad support. Madam Chairwoman.
Yes, and I agree with Governor-elect Spanberger. This is something that we really are going to have to consider, but you also have to consider the fact that we have fiscal challenges and that we have some top priority issues. For one, Medicaid, we have child care, we have our housing issues, and we have a lot of issues on the table that we have to deal with that take priority. So while that's something that we will certainly deal with, as Governor-elect Spanberger said, we need to have a whole lot of conversation around that because we have other priorities as well.
Great.
How quickly should Virginians expect to start seeing results from this legislation, and which area do you think they might start seeing results in first?
Well, and I believe you all, I see it, have the handout. Divided into three different portions, we recognize that as these bills, as I sign these bills into law, some of them will have more immediate impact than others. Some of them we will need to see kind of shifts within our communities. Notably, when you are eliminating additional fees on premiums, once that bill is signed into law, you start to see the impacts. Notably, the changes in eviction timeframes, once that bill is signed into law, you see immediate impacts. The overall impacts of once we pull back from or prevent pharmacy benefit managers from being able to steer individual patients to particular pharmacies, we'll see some immediate impact in support of our local or family-owned pharmacies, but overall leveling within the marketplace will occur a bit more over time. And so policy to policy, the whole goal of this agenda is that when taken in a complementary fashion, there will be impact across the board for Virginians. Some will be faster and nearly immediate, and some will take a little bit of time to see the full results. I'm going to go Tyler and then come back to the front row because I skipped you out. But I appreciate you being front row seated people.
A's. They got A's. They got A's. They paid attention in class.
In the handout is a pilot program to help those who are going to lose their health insurance as a result of ACA premium tax credits not being extended at the federal level. As you know, those bills, those health insurance bills are going out January 1st. This will take some time to pass, go into effect. Is there thoughts about an emergency clause, or is there something that can be done quicker to make sure that Virginians get health insurance?
I thank you for that question, and I want to just make sure we're all grounded in why you have to ask that question, which is because after months and months of fighting on Capitol Hill with so many strong leaders fighting to protect the health care of Virginians and Americans across the country, we see a Speaker of the House and ultimately a President that does not want to do the same. These premium increases and the lack of those federal subsidies don't just impact those who utilized those subsidies, but as we will see a distortion within the marketplace, overall costs for everyone will go up. And so what we're proposing here today is a plan that is meant to stabilize the marketplace. It is a targeted program. In its current formulation, does not pull from the general fund. We are working through the process of pursuing necessary waivers to capitalize this program, but you're right, it will take a little bit of time for people to feel that impact. And so I am committed to ensuring that we are doing everything here at the state level, and this program with its targeted efforts to stabilize, at least here in Virginia, the ACA marketplace, given the chaos we're seeing out of Washington, is meant to counter those efforts. And hope springs eternal. We've seen a discharge petition actually pass that will move forward with a vote for those potential federal subsidies come January. But again, as we move forward with this, our goal is to stabilize and ensure that we can create a bit more stability here in the Commonwealth that will have economic impact, not just on those who might be losing those subsidies, but on the larger marketplace. Let me stop, and anyone want to? Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to go to you.
Governor, you voted on this budget yesterday, and that budget projects modest revenue growth and once against anti-business policies. What is your assessment of Virginia's revenue outlook, and how would you balance the risk of a downturn with your goals for expanding services and programs without jeopardizing the state's fiscal responsibility?
Well, I've been clear, certainly since my election, but on the campaign trail, that it is essential that we maintain Virginia's AAA bond rating, and of course we have a constitutional requirement to balance the budget. And notably, the growth projections that we're seeing are far less than they have been in past years.
Thanks,
and so,
Donald Trump.
I'll defer to you in a moment if you'd like to add to this one. And the reality that we are facing is in the House Appropriations Committee and the Senate Finance Committee, looking at next year and the year after and the year after, we recognize that there will be real fiscal challenges that the Commonwealth is facing, which is why many of these efforts to lower costs for Virginians either don't utilize general fund dollars or are cost neutral. That is not to the exclusion of other extraordinary programs that we will, as the chairwoman said, endeavor to ensure that we are funding essential programs for Virginians. But the real challenge that we face is real. And I hope that we are planning for a rainier day than we will actually see. But ultimately, if we are planning for the challenges that, broadly speaking, we see on the horizon, then we'll be well positioned to contend with them. But it is even more essential if we see economic challenges at a larger macro scale that we are taking these actions to ensure that the individual impact on people's pocketbooks and healthcare, housing, and energy, that we're working to lower those costs as we might see additional disruptions at the macro level.
I would just add this. If you listen to the governor's comments yesterday, What he didn't say is that Trump has been bad for Virginia, and that's the end version. He said that he had 8% growth over the previous 3 years, and now he's projecting somewhere around a little under 4% growth in the outgoing years. He basically left a poison pill, like most men do. They make a mess and leave the woman to clean it up. And so, here's what he did. He came in, and what he should have said yesterday is that I left a poison pill behind, for the governor, and now she has to mitigate all of these damages and all of these harms that Donald Trump and Glenn Youngkin have caused, and he won't even call him out. He made it sound like, well, I did all this great work. Well, who was the president when he was doing all that great work? It was Joe Biden. Trump has been in for a year, and now the economy's going down. And so I wish that we would be honest about the challenges that we have. What we're doing right now and what the governor-elect is talking about is mitigating the damages and the harms that are going to happen as a result of these premium cuts. And so we have to do something, and I appreciate the question, because we have to do something. And that is what we are trying to do, to make sure that they're kicking people off and we're trying to get them back on. And that's the message I think that people should take from
I
this.
cannot resist this opportunity.
I got her fired up.
Yeah, you got me fired up now, because you all know I have not agreed with Governor Youngkin on very much this entire 4 years. And when I listened to his presentation of the budget yesterday, I all but choked.
But you didn't say anything.
I didn't say anything. I promised I would be dignified for a minute. But, he's had his say. But the House and the Senate, now we're prepared to develop our budget. And we're going to develop it around affordability. It's not just a word, as Trump says, affordability. It's all, I hope so, any of that. It's all about making sure that people are able to put food on their table, that they're able to send their kids to school, that they're going to have child care, that they're going to be able to pay their rent, keep their mortgages. People are going to be losing their houses, their cars. Life is not going to be the same. We are going to be working on the budget that's going to make sure that there's a safety net for Virginians. Not all of this stuff that the governor had in his budget yesterday that I call BS.
Right. I'm going to turn it over to Jack to keep calling on people.
Well, we're now hearing that DOJ is again investigating CVAL. We're expecting that to be online at the end of next year. Speaking of energy, speaking of addressing utility costs, how are you going to handle federal pressure against some of the renewable projects that you hope to see unfold, and what's your reaction to the latest on attempts to shut down CVAL?
So I think it's unfortunate that, and I was part of the Congress that voted to ensure that we could work with the private sector to incentivize investments in renewable energy. And unfortunately, we've seen the president choose to attack renewable energy at every juncture. And ultimately, what he's doing in attacking some of these offshore projects, and specifically the one in Virginia, is attacking a project put in place by a private company endeavoring to provide power to the people of Virginia. And so as we move forward, and frankly, as offshore wind in Virginia begins powering coastal Virginia in the coming months, as governor, I will stand up in defense of the ability to keep the lights on in those communities, and the ability of, in this case, Dominion Energy to be able to generate the energy on. Because really, as we look at the challenges facing us, Virginia continues to be the largest net importer of energy. We have to expand generation. And doing so, it is about ensuring we can continue to attract businesses and investment. It's also about ensuring we can literally keep the lights on for Virginians across our community.
So you mentioned that, or you said that this plan should have bipartisan support. So have you heard from Republicans, and what do you think it will take to get their buy-in?
So, I look forward to working to garner support for some of these bills. In fact, some of the ones that were previously vetoed had bipartisan support. So there is a record of many Republican members in both the House and the Senate recognizing the value of some of these bills that were previously vetoed by the Youngkin administration. I hope to continue to see support, broad bipartisan support for those bills. But importantly, as as others have said here today, these bills are straightforward ones. Well, actually, no one said that. I'll say that right now. But the part that everyone spoke to is the fact that the impact of this legislation will impact all Virginians.
Yes.
And so I will continue, as I am working from the governor's office with my friends and partners in the General Assembly, I will continue to make an argument as to why these bills should garner bipartisan support. And I have spoken in broader terms with Republican members of the General Assembly about my focus on affordability. And I recognize that there is areas for those who choose to vote on the bills put forward by the Speaker in the House and the Majority Leader in the Senate. There is certainly room for those who want to ensure that, looking specifically even as it relates to smaller local pharmacies. This is a significant challenge in rural communities, much like the ones I used to represent when I was in Congress, that some of our community-based pharmacies, and to be clear, they are everywhere across Virginia, but in parts of rural communities in Virginia, they are not just the only option, they are an essential provider of access to health care, and they are suffering. And so to ensure that our local and community-based pharmacies can survive is something that is particularly important in rural communities. Ensuring that affordable housing can stay in those terms of affordability. To be honest, I started digging into this problem because it was mayors of small towns and Board of Supervisor members in more rural communities who were saying that they were facing the challenge of when a term of affordability comes up, larger investors, sometimes private equity, come in and buy all of those affordable housing units, take them out of affordability. And if you're in a more populated community, maybe there's affordable housing over here or over there. If you are in a rural community or a small town, that might be the only amount of affordable housing in your community. Once it's gone, the price is reset. The impact is not just on those who depended on those affordable housing units, but it increases prices across the board. And what I had heard initially when I was first digging into this issue is then it impacts who lives in your community. Then it means that people might be traveling 40, 50 minutes to get to their job if they're able to afford that gas, right? And so then there's a workforce challenge in that community as well. So just to give a couple examples of places where, in fact, some of these issues became clear priorities for me because of what I was hearing about in some of our more rural communities, which generally speaking have representation on the other side of the aisle. Anyone else?
All right, one last question. Cameron?
Two-parter, one for a colleague who's not here, but just regarding the budget presentation from the governor yesterday, he also made some comments about warning you all not to do things he said will drive up cost of business in Virginia, housing bills, regional levies, different work. Just a response to that, if you don't mind, and then just again, more on the outgoing governor, dozens of executive orders. Have you begun to look at those and ones you might repeal or leave in place, and specifically EO 52, bolstering oversight of nursing homes and establishing the advisory board on that issue? So start with the EO 52.
All right, so I'm going to begin, and then I'll turn it over to, he's smiling too much, I can't not give the speaker an opportunity to respond. So specific to Reggie, I did find the governor's comments to be particularly noteworthy, given that within his budget, he leverages Reggie dollars for an important budget line item, right? Preparing for a potential reality of having federal government pull back from emergency management. But importantly, if we were actually leveraging Reggie dollars for weatherization projects as prescribed by the programmer, we could be reducing the costs for Virginians by building up on energy efficiency. So that was a sort of notable contradiction that really struck me. As it relates to specific executive orders, that one, kind of broadly speaking, we need greater accountability. We certainly need to ensure that we're doing the nursing home inspections. I have heard from folks largely in the healthcare space that there's some clear missing elements of how it is that we actually get to provide those inspections when they are so understaffed and so far behind. But as a broad priority, absolutely, we must ensure that we are doing those necessary inspections and ensuring that anyone living in a nursing home has quality care, as certainly every family member would want for their loved ones. So with that, I will turn it over to whoever wants to go first.
The governor-elect is so much better at politics than I am. Because regarding that executive order, that's like a last-minute Band-Aid. That's just like, let me CYA, as opposed to fixing it. He had 4 years to fix this nursing home issue. He knows that they are understaffed in getting those nursing homes inspected, which is slowing down the reimbursement rates from the feds. They know this. They didn't fix it. They probably saved a few dollars and they probably put it in a budget like they can have a surplus.
Right.
So they did that. They got a surplus on the backs of not making sure they took care of the nursing home problem. That's one. Two, his whole budget presentation yesterday was a fiction. It was like watching a cartoon. I enjoyed it so much. It was so entertaining because none of us are going to pay it any mind up here. He got his budget. The legislature is going to, he proposes, we'll dispose.
That's right.
I was waiting to see Senator Lucas dropping it in the garbage can on Twitter, but I missed that. But at the end of the day, this is very serious business. And for him to say that he basically tried to lecture us. You know how much advice we take from Glenn Youngkin, all right? Not a lot. So he was basically trying to lecture us at the end of the day. What we like to do is see common sense Republicans come back to the table. I know they still exist. I saw some yesterday who signed that discharge petition in Congress to get those subsidies considered. I know they still exist, and I know that they still have some here in the General Assembly, and we're going to work with them. But that budget presentation yesterday, it was a fiction, and it was very entertaining.
And executive orders come and go with governors.
That's right.
And this governor will enact her own. So when he walks out the door, his executive orders go with him.
Thank you so much,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Appreciate it.
I think, Mr. Speaker, I think trying to do a group photo.
He got a question about the Clean Economy Act. Y'all want to talk about it? It's a good bill. We passed it.
He didn't want a photo with you.
Oh, okay.
Where do you want us to?
Behind the podium?
Should we just be on the other side of the podium?
Other side of the famous street.
We're going to block your sign, Jack. Where you want us? Are we stacking?
Yeah.
They looking at us like, okay, here we go. Now let's just get out of here.
All right.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's a mechanism, because otherwise if you have to dispose of individual parts, it's more complicated. That's all right. Okay, so you're not thinking about throwing the whole thing out.
No.